Hello. Um, I know it's been a long time. I've thought about making videos several times, but I could never decide what to do it on. And I was just waiting for God to tell me what to do it on. But um, I today I got in my head, and it was probably God to just do my testimony. So I don't have verses or anything. Um, I'm just gonna talk about myself. um, When I was little, my parents divorced when I was 1, I believe. And then my mom, they both married again. And then both got divorced again. And then both married again. Um I think that's it. But anyway, I think any person that has parents that aren't married, I just feel like you can overcome anything, but I still feel like that really affects your life when you're a kid. I don't remember them getting divorced, and mine is a weird situation because as far as I remember, they got along great. My mom and dad, um, and my dad's wife and my mom's husband. But anyway, like I said, I had a stepdad that was verbally and emotionally abusive, and I don't remember much of my childhood. I don't know if it's because of that or don't mind the whining at the door. My dog thinks he has to be with me every second of the day. Um, but yeah, I think that's how I started to kind of lose my self worth, I guess. I didn't really feel good enough to, just go up and talk to people, or if I like some boy, I couldn't talk to him. And of course, I wasn't popular. I know that. When I was younger, I would get made fun of. When I was little, we didn't have money, um, and I don't remember all that was said, but I remember the feeling, I guess, if that makes any sense. But sorry if I'm rambling on. I tried to write down some notes so I remember, but I am just not good at using an outline. But I've been winging it the whole time I've been making these videos. So where was I? Yeah, that was mostly I think my mom divorced him for the second time. It was around the time I graduated. So pretty much since I was in first grade, probably until then. We had moved to Macomb, Illinois at one time, and I hated it. I was bullied so bad there. I hated it, and I would cry. Um, I do remember some things from my childhood, just flashes and stuff. But I hated it, so I actually moved back and lived with my dad for a year or two, and then my mom moved back to Gahoga. Um, I think I went to my grandma's every day after school. She was so fun. She died in 20, 2008. And it's just, I wish my daughter could have known her. She was just amazing. Um, but anyway, so my mom moved back, and I eventually moved back in with her. Um, Sometimes I wonder if things would be different if I would have just stayed at my dad's, but my mom's a lot more, don't know what the word is, but I can count on her a lot more. If that makes sense. My dad loved me, and we got along great. Everybody says I'm like my dad, which is good and bad at the same time. But I guess it was just more stable. I don't know. Or I just miss my mama. That could have been it. But, yeah, that's about all I can have to say about my childhood. I was raised in a church. My testimony, I should probably talk about about church. Charlie, you're fine. Sorry. My uncle was a preacher, and they had a little church in my hometown, and then I remember them building a church. The only part that I remember about the building was they were raising the steeple on top of it, and I was so scared my dad was going to fall off the roof. I remember thinking that. I'm like, my dad's going to fall off the roof and die putting up a steeple on a church. But, yeah. I've been a Baptist my whole life. But mostly I'm a Christian. So I grew up in the church. I was still going to youth group, when I think I was 17, I got into doing meth. But I've done lots of drugs. I won't talk about drugs too much because I never had like an addiction to that. But it was more recreational. I don't know what the mindset was that made me want to do any of the drugs I've done. Never done heroin. But, I don't know. I don't know why I did it. I don't know if because maybe I felt I was accepted in the druggie group, or I don't know. There's so many times that I am surprised I'm still alive, and that right there tells me there's a God. Just waiting for me to acknowledge it and not be such an idiot. But I went to college for about a year, and then I dropped out. I wanted to be a counselor therapist. But I dropped out, and, my life was one job to the next, For a while, I drank a lot, and, on the weekends, mostly partying and smoking a lot of pot. And let's fast forward, and I got married. I saw a guy that I had gone to school with. We started dating. I got pregnant with Nevada when she was just a few months old, or maybe not even that old. My grandma was dying of cancer, and I wanted her to be at my wedding. So I basically proposed to him. I was kind of like, do you ever want to get married? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, how about next Saturday? And that's how it was. That was really the conversation. 1 minute. I get terrible dry mouth. But, so, it was November 24th of 2007. So Nevada was 2 months old, my daughter. And we had Christmas, Thanksgiving, and a wedding. So I got married at my grandma's house. Should not have gotten married. Sometimes I forget that I was married once. But yeah, that didn't last that long. Nevada was real little. I found out that he was making meth. And this was, I was done with all that. But, yeah, he was making meth and in the garage right next to the house that our daughter lived in. I did give him a second chance. He was arrested, and when he came back, he was wonderful. He would play with our daughter, but a couple weeks after that, he went back to staying in that garage, and it's all ridiculous. Yeah, well, the reason he got arrested is I was outside, Nevada was in the pool, and my sister was there with a couple kids that she was babysitting, and suddenly these cop cars and like DFS cars pulled in the driveway, and I was like, what is going on? And I could tell from what they were doing. I was actually calling in my unemployment because I worked at the school and it was summertime. So I drew unemployment in the summer, and they're like, hang up the phone, man. I'm like, okay. Long story short, they knew it was nothing to do with me. I had to take a drug test, but of course it was negative. If it would have been positive, they would have taken my daughter away, I believe. But I think she could have gone to my mom's. But it didn't happen. Like I said, he went to jail, and then he had to take a drug test a couple weeks after he got out. And I went up to the police station because I'm like, let's just get it done before we're going grocery shopping. And he kept saying he wants to wait till next week or whatever. And I'm like, okay. Well, he failed. Instead of going to the grocery store, I drove back to our home. And I said, get your crap and get out of my house. So that was the end of that. And this was... Oh, we also had an affair. Yeah. Man. I forget things, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah. Sorry if I'm rambling. I feel like I'm making this so long. I'm already 12 minutes in. Let's see. I did, at different times in my life, I drank a lot. There's a time where I think I drank every day, but I never was really physically addicted to it. I was, I guess, a mental alcoholic, if that makes any sense. I think I just did it just because I had no self-worth, and when I would drink, I was more open and could talk to people, and I think that's probably what it is, but I don't know. It didn't do my life any good, so there's a lot of that in there, drinking and all that, but I mean, there's really not much to talk about it. Like I said, I'm surprised I'm alive. I've had 2 DWIs. So dumb, but I drove intoxicated so many times. I can't believe I didn't get in a wreck and kill myself or someone else. That just, it just makes me sick thinking about it now. But I fast forward to my dad was an opiate addict, and his wife, my stepmom, and they both went to jail for they had stolen narcotics from her sister, and so they were arrested. They were given drug court, which is where you have to, I think I talked about this in another video. Anyway, it was drug court, and they graduated early because I think part of it was they just did everything right, and Joanne had been diagnosed with cancer. Joanne's my stepmom. So, fast forward from that. Well, one of the worst things I've ever seen, I never want to see something like this again, is we went to visit Dad, and a couple days after they were arrested, they let us go in this room instead of talking through the phones. When he came in, he he could barely stand. He was shaking so bad. So we grabbed a chair so he could sit down. And I mean, it was bad. Just the withdrawal. But they both, went were themselves again. I'm like, this is my fun dad again that just wants to do more than just sleep and find drugs, I guess. And then she got really bad. I think I talked about this too. I did. I talked about my dad's suicide, I think. But anyway, she ended up dying, and a few weeks later, my dad killed himself. He shot himself about a block from where I live. I could probably see the house he was at from my front porch. So I tell people this, and they probably think I'm crazy, but I say that my dad taking his own life was the worst thing and the best thing that ever happened to me. I wasn't surprised. I was shocked, but not a bit surprised, and he'd even talked about it before. I don't know. But after that, I did drink for a little bit, but I'm like, I'm not going back down this road. And I went back to church here in my hometown. And I just threw myself into every ministry I could. It was, how in churches there's the same group of people that are doing everything, going to the Bible studies and helping with the youth group and all that. And I was one of those people. And I had so much joy in my life. And, I have family that lives in Knoxville, Tennessee, and we went there on vacation. We went to Alabama, but first we went there, and then, long story that we had to stay a few days after getting back from vacation. We had to stay in Knoxville. And I just fell in love with it, and, a few months later, we moved to Knoxville. And things were good for quite a while. Went to a little church about the size of mine here in my hometown, and it was nice. There was an amazing preacher, hellfire and damnation preacher, or like revival type preaching, and that's how my uncle was. So I loved it. I know a lot of people don't, but then he accepted to be a pastor at this really big church. And we eventually, my family went over there to that church. And I don't know, I really can't even tell you why. Maybe because I tried to get involved in things, and that they said that it wasn't needed, basically. And I'm like, so I stopped going. And I got really depressed. And that's when I think all my issues started showing up and saying hi. Issues as in medical, not mental. I have mental issues too. But so I went to the doctor, and I found out I had Hashimoto's disease, which is hypothyroidism. And so I got medicine for that, and I was there. I was gaining weight all the time. I got pretty heavy. I got almost 300 pounds. And that's just, wow. But, I ended up getting, well, this is after I moved back. I'm getting ahead of myself. Man, I'm talking a lot. I'm sorry that this is too long. ended up, because I was sick all the time and I had to call in, I ended up losing my good job there, and I just couldn't. I had bought a house and I couldn't afford the payments then, and so I had to just move back home. And a couple days later, we went back to Knoxville to get all my stuff because I just packed up my dogs, my cat, my child, and everything that we could stick in my little Ford Escape. And like I said, got a huge U-Haul truck and got me out of there. My house got foreclosed on, of course, and so there goes my credit. But I moved back, and I think it was like the second day after I moved back. I mean, it was at least in that first week. I was with my mom, and we were picking up my niece from preschool or something, and I looked down, and the ends of my fingers were white. I said, "Mom, look at this. I have dead fingers," which is Raynaud's disease. Come to find out, the Raynaud's was just a symptom of a bigger problem. So I told you I have Hashimoto's, which is a lot of the reason I probably, not all, but it contributed to the weight gain, because hypothyroidism, you gain weight like crazy, like your metabolism just shuts down. But after I moved back, like I said, I went to a rheumatologist, and they did labs on me, and like my inflammation, and I can't remember what it's called, but it was off the charts. My mom cried. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why, but I didn't know at the time. And she said that she felt bad because she always supported me, but she never really believed, that I really felt like I did and do, which is really difficult. I guess I'm getting ahead of myself again. Stop, Summer. But I found out I have rheumatoid arthritis, and I have limited cutaneous systemic sclerosis. And that's the one that's scarier because it can cause lots of damage. It can kill you. I'm not going to die from rheumatoid arthritis. I might not be able to move, but the systemic sclerosis could kill me. It can basically harden your organs. Luckily, mine are not hardening. It usually starts with your skin, I think. And I've seen people's faces, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I do not want to look like that. They look kind of like a mummy. And I guess I'm just vain, but I would be awful. And they have trouble eating because their mouth gets so tight that they can speak or anything. Luckily, like I said, it hasn't advanced, and I got on lots of medication. I take so much medication because I also have chronic migraines and fibromyalgia. So I'm just kind of a hot mess. I have asthma too, but it's not bad. It usually only acts up in the seasonal, like the springtime. If only I just had asthma. But anyway, I got fired from so many jobs because I was sick all the time. Well, I was just doing home health, and it was just, I couldn't do very many hours at all. And I was having to, reschedule things because I couldn't even get out of bed from the pain and all that. But I eventually just applied for Social Security disability, and finally was approved. So I get disability. I, of course, it's really hard having invisible diseases. Like, nobody can see, anything outwardly wrong with you. So they're just like, well, you don't look sick, well, I'm collecting autoimmune diseases because I have 3. Sometimes they call fibromyalgia 1, so that would be 4, but I'm just collecting them. So yeah, while I was in Knoxville, I got really, like I said, I quit going to church, and I was just so depressed, and I moved back, and I was, out of it. I didn't go to church like I should, and I've ever since then I've just been struggling getting back to it, and I don't know why. I want to so bad. I want that joy back, how I felt, and I don't know why. I don't know if I'm just letting Satan pull me down, but I publicly stated on Facebook about my plan, how I want to change and get that back, and other things in my life too. And I even tagged ladies from my church that I respect and love them as mentors. I tagged them to hold me accountable. And so yesterday I went to church. We even got there early for breakfast. First time I've ever been there early enough to get the breakfast. We have breakfast the first Sunday of every month. And yeah, it was great. I usually, off and on, I go to we have a Tuesday Bible study, and then I'm going to do another one. And I'm trying to get that joy back. I'm still working on it. When I threw myself into it after my dad killed himself, I don't even know how to say this. I can't even remember what I was going to say. I'm sorry. Bunch of silence. That's one of the symptoms of my issues is I forget things. I get easily distracted. And anyway. Oh, I lost over 100 pounds. I had gastric sleeve surgery. And I lost over 100 pounds. I've gained some of it back, so I'm back to trying to eat healthy, and I've been working out. I love that. I love working out. Who would have thunk it? But if you can hear my dog, he is ridiculous. He cannot stand being away from me. Oh, I know what I was going to say. When I first started after my dad's suicide, I threw myself in to the church, and I was saved, accepted Christ when I was a teenager or maybe even a kid. But I don't know if I truly was, because I didn't really change, So I don't know if it was then or if it was when I threw myself back into church. But either way, I've accepted Christ, and what a wonder, it's a nice feeling to know that like people that have gone before you, you'll see them again if they accepted Christ. And I know my dad did. I know my stepmom did. I know my grandma did. So I'll get to see them all again. Don't really want to die right now, but the rapture, I would definitely welcome the rapture, the way the world is getting. I just wish I could get through to a few people that are on my prayer list and trying to get them in a relationship with Christ. I'm sorry I've been so rambly, but that's my testimony, and there's a lot more to it, but we're already at a half an hour, and I try to keep my videos under 10 minutes. So I guess if you either made it here or you just quit. but thank you for the ones that have made it here. um, and thank you for putting up with my rambling and my just blank stares. Like I said, that is a huge thing. That's my biggest, that really gets me, because it's so hard not to remember anything. Like, even if you watched a movie last week, or you forget that you've watched these different things, or I forget I'm saying in the middle of a sentence. I'm sure you've experienced that in my testimony. There'll be times that my cheeks won't even let me speak. I'll be like, it's happened a couple times in Bible study when I was reading a passage, and it's like they do this weird thing, and I can't talk. I have to wait till it like calms down. I don't know what that is, but there's lots. I mean, lots of pain. Pain's the biggest thing, and weakness. So I've been working out. I thought it might throw me into flares, but it hasn't. Hopefully it'll help. That would be great. Get in shape and get my immune system acting a little better. But yeah, that's my testimony. There's been lots of dramatic stories in there and everything, but I am so blessed with the family that I have and the support I have with that. I don't tell them enough how much it means to me. If you're watching this, I love you. Thank you. Thank you for being there for me. To my family. I think that's about it. I really can't think of anything else. My brain's starting to do the blank stare type thing. So I better. And I think my dog might bust through a window here in a minute if I don't let him back in. But yeah, thanks for hanging in there. I promise my next one won't be this long. And love you guys. God bless you. I hope you know Christ. If you have any questions, let me know. If you want me to clarify something about my testimony, I'm an open book. I will tell you anything that I've done. And I left a bunch of stuff out. Like, I don't know. But anyway, have a good one. Jesus and coffee.